Hello, welcome to Radio FM 88. My name's Jeff Shaw. Just below me in the pink is my co-host Julia Choi, and just to the north of me, above me in the northern hemisphere, is Elaine Fenton, all the way from the county of Cornwall in a little village called Melzell, Newlyn, and Penzance, I suppose is the best way to say it. So, Dreaming the Dream tonight is a story in the making. And in the background, I should mention, is none other than the man who does all the work, Stan Fenton. Yeah. So behind every good woman is a good man pushing the wheelbarrow. Okay, so we've got to get that out of the way for old Stan, mate. So what we're talking about tonight is an amazing situation that transpired 10 years ago now, where Elaine and a gentleman called Ron Tropman from Somerset combined resources and they set up the Healing Weekend and of a little place called Secret World, which is here in Australia would be like the RSPCA's Animal Life Refuge, and they put on a Healing Weekend. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Elaine, and while she's talking, I'll bring up the photos to show how an event that took place in Somerset over 3 days, a year of planning, had to move across into a unique format, and that's the course of our conversation tonight. Hello, Elaine. Hello, Stan, and hello, Julia.
Hi, Jeff, and hi, Julia.
Hello.
So, over to me. Well, the Healing Weekend itself, as Jeff kind of alluded to, has a long history, and it has a history longer than me, but from 2009, from this tiny little event, really, although I thought at the time it was huge. 900 people came. We had great 3 days. From that day to this, the idea of bringing together people to showcase skills, to share, to grow, to learn, to have a fantastic time, with all things spiritual, all things health, all things well-being, all things fun and laughter and joy and togetherness. Up until this last July, then I would say currently we were looking at visitors around about 7,000 and from across the world. A totally fantastic experience with, 3 days full of about 90 workshops, big performances, music, camping, laughter, lots of good things for the charity too. But yes, clearly, and dearly loved by many, not least of all the people, not just the people who attend, but the volunteer crew, and there are about 50 of them who really do support the vision and the work. And so, July, it can't happen. And I sat and I just didn't know what to think. It was clearly in just a fail swoop like that, because this is what I do. This is what I do. I create this beautiful and other events like it. It just stopped. And of course, that's a bit, that really hits you. It's like a loss, first of all, in amongst all the confusion that is around and about there. So how one makes some sense from this chaos is, I guess, up to the individual, and many of your listeners will probably have been doing very similar with their lives. So I was in bed on a Sunday morning, and this word popped into my head, and there you can see. Oh, and Angelina and Carol are there as well. Some lovely pictures of the big marquee with everybody. Oh, I can see Audrey Duckett. Lots of amazing faces there, having great fun. Barbara and Flavia on the stage, and everybody in the red shirts are our helpers and our crew. So, and Jeff himself is a great supporter and helper of the Healing Weekend. It's entrance to the workshops, some of the camping. So, what do? I was lying in bed, and this is all gone for this year. All the togetherness, all the love, and the word oasis came into my head. Just popped in, oasis. So, many of you spiritual guys out there will will know the very feeling of having something pop into your head that wasn't there. Other people might think it's total madness, which of course it's not. Oasis. And I was talking to myself, what is Oasis? What is Oasis? And I was thinking, place of sanctuary, place of safety, a place of gathering, of supporting and holding and nurturing, all of those things. And it just came to me that we can't let go. We have to try find a new way. And Jeff and Julia clearly are really good on tech and technology. I hadn't even been. We have it better now. Glass, plastic, paper. Yeah. Some good memories there. Good memories. So yeah, a place of nurturing. But I had not even so much as gone on to Zoom. Get Willem with his tongue out. And I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to give it a try. So literally, I put together in one day a concept, a possibility, and a whole heap of faith. I launched it on Facebook and just said to people, what do you think? And I think literally we had 400 or 500 people join within 2 or 3 days.
It's nearly 900.
Yeah, so there's about 900 in there. And just like the Healing Weekend, my thought was that perhaps, just perhaps, I'm not going to promote, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to organically let this grow. Whoever finds Oasis finds it because there's a good reason to find it. And little did I know that little did I know that what was going to happen in terms of some of the personal experiences within the group of lives being transformed just as they are at the actual event. It's almost as if the screen in front doesn't exist at all. Once people are communicating, and there is very much the opportunity for dialogue and for questions and for all the things that you would see, demonstrations, people are there, being able to find out more about themselves, people that in this country, some really vulnerable people in the group who have not been outside their front doors since March, and to witness the transformations in them, it's just humbling, to be honest, but we have great fun. It's non-stop, and I will tell you a little story about Jeff, which links to something I did when I first created Oasis. Now, Jeff used to come over and help on, all the sound and the music at the Healing Weekend years ago. And when it was my first job to actually create, of course, doing anything, you make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. But I put Jeff
yes, I remember that
onto the stage, but I didn't schedule him in any break. And I just left him there. And he said to me after, this is really good, Elaine, but, perhaps next time you could organise that I can at least go to the loo. And I did similar with Oasis, because I thought, pack it all in, have 15 minutes break in between each thing and run from to whatever. And I realised after a few weeks, people were going to get mighty, mighty sore bottoms, sat down all day. So we learned from that. I schedule lunch breaks and breaks between each thing. I also incorporate movement, so that people are not stationary all the time. So there are opportunities to do some yoga, biodanza, all sorts of drumming and the rest of it. And I wish somebody would actually create a way that we could have music online where we all can share and drum without that echo. And I think that probably is the next stage, somebody really cracking out there to get to grips with the technology. So you really have that sense of being in the moment. As at the moment, you obviously mute and play along. But yeah, we've seen some fantastic people step forward. They volunteer their time from all across, from Australia, a number from the US as well. Yeah. Spain, Canada, all over. So I guess the only thing is, like, what are we now, like 9 whatever in the morning in the UK, and over with you guys it's the evening. So I was thinking about that last night, and how, you know, Oasis might spread its wings and embrace a larger audience.
Well, we live in one world.
Because we live in one world, yeah. So it's
I thought about that myself last night. I must have been in cohesion with yourself, thinking, well, if it's 7 o'clock here and it's 9 o'clock your time, most people were here, and I'm talking Queensland opposed to New South Wales or Victoria, which would be 9 o'clock. So you have to be mindful that you're probably, if you're going to take any Australian participant or Australian lecturer, you might have to start them off at 10 o'clock your time in the morning. So that's
I don't know if you know Lou Van Stone, but yeah. So Lou's been on a couple of times. Amazing sound journey from her. Incredible. Really popular, deeply moving, deeply transformational. So we do try. But I've had people come on and say, it's 4 a.m. here, but I'm still coming. I don't know. We'll see how we could work that. Because I think that one of the important things about Oasis, as well as the benefits to the people who come, is the building of community, is the building of new communities, and no barriers to that, you know, and I think it's also important for those coming to showcase their gifts, because the current situation in the world means that many people have had their livelihoods affected and changed drastically. So it offers the opportunity for those who work with other people across the spiritual spectrum, and, you know, that's wide, to be able to come share what they do, and then people can say, well, I really like that, you know, so they then follow up and go with them. But the group also has something that I think is really special, the online group. So the online group is there in between the event to maintain that support and to give people that boost encouragement to share great things. But we also have quite a number of mentors in the group. So being that it's a Facebook group, Facebook allows you to have that facility at the top of the page. So when one clicks on the mentor, you'll see a host of people offering different ways of one-to-ones with people, if you like. So that also is great, and it's working really, really well.
Yeah. You're talking about the Zoom breakout rooms, are you?
Yeah, I have. Yes, I will use those at some point, but I haven't as yet. I'm thinking how to integrate that. The group, I mean, when the group comes together, it is really amazing how very quickly everybody knows one another. Very quickly, it shows how social we all are, and how we want to be together. We do care, you know, that somebody that's having a challenging day with asthma, say, you know, somebody else in the group will be following up and saying, how are you today? You know, how is it? You know, and a little bit of a cheeriness as well as a practice.
A lot of banter.
Well, you know, Jeff, I mean, when Stan's around, there's got to be a lot of cheeky banter, cheekiness. Yeah.
No, that's a London for you.
Very cheeky, very cheeky.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's part of it at the moment, is keeping those spirits high, being open to new things. You know, we are not isolated. We are clearly affected by everything globally. You know, we belong in this big web. So trying to actually hold that sense of positivity and encouraging others to lift and move on and learn how to move with change. I think that's probably one of the hardest things that that people have is actually change, because Julia, when you said earlier, you know, about exploring new territories for yourselves, I think that, of course, we're not so much taught at school those things. We're taught to fit boxes, but when those boxes are no longer there, we have and we're given to rely upon ourselves, then it requires us to almost go back to a different school and learn again and unlearn so that we can go forward and take all of the benefits of this beautiful world.
That's a good point.
Along with us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And I think, you know, now that we've been in this whole situation since March, and you in the UK are going back into lockdown, right?
We are now in lockdown.
You are now in lockdown. How is it different from the first time round? Are you more prepared? Are you sort of more equipped? Are you mentally?
In Cornwall, we're a bit lucky. It's not like London where it gets slaughtered. You know, we're quite immune down here.
Well, I think in a less populated area, clearly, we can get out. We can go walk. We can go to the sea. We can do all those kind of things. But are we any more prepared? I think from what I could see first time round, generally, in terms of people's reactions, I think there is now more an acceptance of something rather than panic. I mean, I think a lot of people panic first time. Over here, we had lots of panic buying. Loads. I mean, I don't know about you, but it was, you know, everybody bought every roll of toilet paper there was in the universe, you know, hundreds of them. But we're not seeing that now. It's almost as if mechanisms are in place. People are more, whether one would say, I don't know, perhaps it just shows our ability to adapt. But I think rather than the complacency of just being passive, I think the most important thing with adapting is to find room for creativity to move forward, rather than I'm locked down now and that's it. And it's not that. It's about other avenues and opportunities that are going to unfold in the fullness of time for each and every one of us. And keeping safe, but keeping well, but keeping together all things that help to make us go. Oh, yeah, there's me. See the little arrow right down the bottom, right down there. Next stop. Next stop is the USA if you go across that water. So Bill, a good friend of ours, Bill Harrison, when he came to visit for the first time down here, said to me, God,
with Jeff.
Yeah,
well, Jeff was with him.
Not this particular, the first one. He said, good God, mate, if you went any further, you'd be in the water. Yeah. So as you can see, it's very, it's not, you know, it is, it's a large camp. Well, in terms of Australia, it's tiny little place, but it is beautiful.
So you're near Land's End?
Yeah, about 8 miles from Land's End. Yeah,
I've been down there. Yes, it's.
Yeah, you will have passed where we live. It is stunning, and because it's for the UK anyway, it's quite geographically. It has its own identity. Cornwall has its own identity. It's part of the Celtic, you know, the Celtic race. So you've got Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and once upon a time, all down that west coast of the country, the Celtic peoples shared much, you know, in terms of culture and their ways. So as Jeff will know, when I'm not busy doing the events, I'm also out and about. And we've got loads of wonderful sacred sites, ancient villages and things down here as well, which nobody has. You know, they're there. They're not like a Stonehenge, which has been made into a monument, you know, that everybody comes and tourists comes. These are natural, they're stood the test of time, well preserved, and you don't have to buy a ticket to go in. It's just rather lovely. So yeah. So that from that point of view, I consider that we are quite blessed. But yeah, that I would say, Julia, that coming back to your question, has it changed? For me, I just feel a sense of planning forward now. That's like, I'm going to build what we've started here, and with Stan's support. Also, do lots of, and in a practical sense, do lots of things that we have, you know, that are needing doing. You know, let's just get on and just get this going. So Yeah.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Well, and enjoying that very much.
Yeah, I think I agree that the back to basics, this is what the lockdown has given us, is number one, just to reassess what we really need in our life. And number two, actually to create the space for people who've been too busy, playing Monopoly, as Jeff likes to put it, to actually have time, that they're not commuting and they're not rushing around and competing, to actually start new projects that they've always wanted to do. Just like my dad started, didn't wait until he was retired before he started playing the violin. When he was growing up in the war in Malaysia, he just had no opportunity to do that. But when he was 70, he started it. And I hear stories everywhere that people are, now finding the time to do that. And I can see how your Oasis community would be just perfect for people who are, looking out there via internet.
Actually doing that myself,
to acquire those skills.
Yeah.
Got back on music myself because I was used to I had a studio in London for 15 years and a band and all the rest of it. But I've sort of not done it for quite a long time. I've actually got back to it now. So it's given me the opportunity to do it, I feel a bit self-conscious about it because I thought, well, should be doing something more functional, but being creative is not a bad thing,
Oh, no, absolutely. I think it's a lot of a lot of males don't get the chance to discover it. So what instrument do you play, Stan?
I learned guitar, but in the studio we had the drums and the keyboard set up, so I played all that stuff when I was, it's a long story, but basically I'm a guitarist, but I write music on the keyboards. Like I say, it's a long story, but we were in the charts a couple of times a long time ago, and we had an album out. But it's nice when you get time. You get up in the morning, you think, what am I going to do? I'll do something creative. Or try it anyway.
Oh,
so it's like giving the opportunity to do it.
It's really lovely, and not be daunted. A lovely story. I heard a big crash in the room where the keyboard is. I went in, and it was on the floor along with the monitor. I couldn't believe it. Stan, did you not actually put this on the table properly? I didn't think. Then we put it back, and 2 weeks later I heard another crash, and I went to investigate and looked around, and there at the bottom of the stairs was a cat, and the cat had jumped through the window and has decided it likes to jump through the window just where the keyboard and knock it off.
And the computer.
I found the culprit. So Stan then has to now negotiate a broken keyboard because of cat, but undaunted, he will persevere.
Doing a good time.
I do think that
you tap into resources you've got inside yourself, which you wouldn't have done otherwise. I'm talking about me, probably.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about,
I think other people too. I think that creativity that is so undervalued, out there. It is. I mean, where would we be without our poets and our artists and our musicians because those gifts are the ones that really enhance all of our lives and bring beauty to the world. So I know that many people are beginning to pick up things, just like you said with your father and the and the music, are beginning to go back and find the bits of them they left behind. Find the bits that never were allowed to develop, and with great joy. I mean, I don't know, Julia, if you've seen, but I now create art from seaweed. It's a Victorian pastime. And my daughter, who was studying away at the time, sent me a message and she said, "Have you ever seen this?" And I hadn't. And it was a great way for Victorian women who were, who were not really allowed to go out, on their own without chaperones and things. They would collect, and from a botanist's point of view, would then process and dry and then catalogue in journals. And Queen Victoria was included in all this. She did it too. But I looked at it and I just thought, that's just stunning. So I learned how to do that. And so I think I'm about 1.5 years into it now. But So
luckily
yeah,
we're only about 50 yards from the beach anyway. So
Well, could we see some?
We've got an expert come round here once because we've got a studio here, and he said that piece of seaweed is from Japan.
Yeah.
Really?
So
unbelievable.
So of course these things travel, but the ocean has to. So the things you can learn. I learned that the ocean has seasons. I learned that colours that you can pick up now are autumnal colours. They're browns and they're deep. And I come back and it's like a meditation. And I've shown other people how to do it. And being this Celt at heart, outside in nature, all of us can benefit from even just a small few moments outside, because the number of times people say, well, I don't see things that you see, but literally all you need to do is pick up a flower, pick up a rock or a stone. It talks to you. I remember a time on a hill with Jeff down here, looking out towards the Scilly Isles, which is a beautiful place. And
Isles of Scilly, not Scilly Isles.
Well, yeah, that's it. Isles of Scilly. Cheeky. And I could really sense this sort of, I saw this white gleaming rock centered, and I realized that underneath our feet was some pure quartz crystal underneath our feet. And the power and the resonance of this was enormous. And I didn't know that was there. It was there. So I didn't know. That the Dalai Lama says about going somewhere new or finding new experiences. I think we could all do with trying to do what we need to do during this time. Obviously, we don't break rules, but we also need to find space to allow ourselves to connect deeply with the parts of us maybe that were locked inside, the bits we've forgotten, like as child. When we're a child, we go out, doesn't matter if it's raining, a child will say, oh, it's rain, I'm going to get wet and I'm going to splash in the puddles and I'm going to have a great time and I'm going to play in the mud. Not
that we would have done it, Jeff.
I'm quite sure.
What was that? Wasn't it?
Yeah. But it gives, and when I run, I bring people down to Cornwall and run retreats and residentials down here. And before the first lockdown, the day before, Patrick Gamble and I were over at a beautiful place called Sennan, and we had a lovely group of people there for 3 or 4 days, and there was a sense of what was going to happen. What was going to transpire on the Monday that we finished. But when you actually have a group of people like that and you permit an environment where they can be free and everything, their worries are gone, then adults play. They seriously play. They dig on the beach. They find magical things. They become totally uninhibited. Within, but they lose the barriers. They begin to actually laugh. They paint. They draw. They walk up. They become mischievous. Yeah, they become really, really mischievous and fun, and they learn. So I think during this time round, I think a good piece of advice for all of us would be to just literally try and find those places and spaces, because they really will energize, and the creativity most important. Actually having something that you finish and that sense of achievement too.
I think if you feel a bit trapped, you need to find freedom.
Yeah.
And it's creativity. That's what it's about, I think.
And Oasis, in Oasis, I don't know, let's have a look at what we've got coming up. We've got Oasis coming up this weekend. So, and what I try to do always is I try to make a balanced program. So, as I said earlier on, having learned the hard way from people. My own bottom being so sore, I sat down all of the day, having to get up and do something. We have got, let me just scroll through and find it. I take so many photos on my phone, guys. It is ludicrous. Right, here we go. So 7th November, we start with a guy called Peter Parker, alias Spider-Man. And he's an engineer, but reminded me of a friend of ours, Rob Burgess, an engineer by trade. So he kind of takes things from a science background with a spin on it, and his sharing is the miracle of you. So and he's a really lovely guy. Now then we've got a guy called David Rees, who came on last time and was talking about creating a soul plan. Everybody was so interested in the how-to. He didn't have time to do how-to. So he's coming back this time and doing 2 sessions so people are able to actually create their own soul plan. So there's an interaction there. They'll be downloading things or having things in the post and working on a plan. It works really well. The same as astrology. Same as astrology. That's worked really well. There's some of our presenters. So and for the first time we've got some trance. So I noticed you said you met at the Spiritualist Church in Brisbane. We've got third along from the top on that photo. So Emily Jane, an amazing singer. She won the runner-up contest at the Healing Weekend music competition a number of years ago, but you can see following on from that, now she's there. She's got her own centre and doing some beautiful work. Great healer. And Kimberly Lovell. So we're going to more NLP stuff here, and she's going to be doing some past life regression work with people. Actually linking to what I was just saying about finding bits of yourself from the past that you've left behind. She'll be focusing on pulling those things out. I met Fed Podesky for the first time, and he's going to be doing this 10 steps to greater health, and he is great. He's what do you call it? Nutritionist, naturopath. So great guy. Lots of wisdom there. Lots of experience with him. And of course, you all know that the rascal Patrick Gamble in the middle there with his. So he'll be actually. You do indeed. He was on with you. So he's going to be doing Paint Your Spirit Guide. So again, showing that interaction. People are not isolated. They're not being talked to at. They're actually involved, which is brilliant. Bernie, I don't know if you saw Bernie at all, Jeff, but Bernie's got. So Bernie's coming on for the first time to do demonstration. She's really popular.
From Bristol.
I think you have.
Oh, she goes way back, doesn't she?
And Hillary Stanley. Well, she's so multi-talented, really. When you say to Hillary, what do you want to do? It can be anything. Violet flame. To this time it's dragons. The lady with a beautiful smile, whose name has been chopped off on, so that's sad. That's me. That's creating an error. That's Paula. Now, Paula does biodance. I don't know if you know what this is. And
it's amazing.
Both Stan and I cried, and she's been on a couple of times now. It is one of the most. Paula, so the biodancer, basically a sort of Spanish dance, but it's all about embodiment, all about being present in the body. Yeah. And it's all, I can't even explain, but she has a beautiful, she uses music beautifully and captures people's emotions and gets you to express them. Hello, Helen, via the body. So it's like being being strong, you know, and actually moving around yours and feeling your body and feeling your core strength. It's a beautiful session, very moving.
Feeling your feelings as well. That's what it's mainly about. That's what brings tears out.
Is that the one who's connected with Barbara Meiklejohn?
No.
Okay.
I met this one in Bristol, and she's become a real favourite of the group. The other lady next, Melanie Surratt, is called the Drum Woman, and she will be taking people on the sound journey. So it'll be drum healing with her. So it's bring your drums. And Lydia next is all about, this time round for Lydia, Feng Shui, which I guess is a great thing. A lot of people were saying, can we have Feng Shui? Because, you know, we want to move our home around and we want to get the right energies, and very practical.
Yep.
Lisa Yoga, and Lisa's beautiful yoga teacher, who we've known for many years. And again, that kind of embody thing. So we've got palmistry with Ava May, bottom left. And I've not met Ava May, but she comes highly recommended. So yep, she'll be doing some palmistry and showing. There is an element of demonstration, working with people, but people will also look at their own hands. You know, they'll be investigating that. My lovely friend Caitlin from Connecticut is coming in with animal wisdom. She's a beautiful girl, always very, 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 very gifted. And then these ones you'll love. Next, we have Wendy and Richard, great shamanic teachers. Both of them together are blown away. They came in and stood in last time at like 10 minutes notice. I'll give you the link to them because they do some amazing work. They really do some amazing work, and again, very powerful. So yeah, and the last two, Letitia and Quinto. So again, you've got a huge shamanic presence there from those two. So yeah, that's in a weekend. And Elaine's not there, obviously, because she's not been very well. So we've changed. And rather than Kelvin from Connecticut, Richard and Wendy are in. So as with anything, last minute changes, but there were only a few this time. So yeah.
And that's all this weekend.
Yeah. So that's Saturday and Sunday. So I try and put, you know, you can see the balance between doing, being, and having lunch and a break. But yeah, it is. Yeah.
You learnt the 15-minute breaks.
Yeah. 15-minute breaks and a lunch break now. So yeah.
Our viewers over in New Zealand and here in Australia, you got £5. Obviously, there's about 10 Australian dollars or $10.50 New Zealand dollars. How does it work then for someone to come on? They go to the Oasis online site, or they Facebook, or you go to elainefenton.co.uk.
Yeah, literally, to contact me, you can see my email there, and my phone number. Facebook via the group Oasis Online, and then what happens in terms of coming along to the events. You just let me know. I mean, I link my website, has the link to the ticket booking. So www.elainefenton.co.uk. And the £5 bit is truly, after, you know, you pay your Zoom fees, this is what I want to give people rather than, you know, people are giving their time to do this. And I think at this moment in time, that's pretty precious. You know, there is a will and intent here to do something good and to make a difference. So and you can see by the quality of the program, it does. And it's not just the program, though, it's what happens in the group in between times and how people are now beginning to really gel.
It brings people together.
Yeah, it does, Stan. You're right.
So if we're on a different time difference, and I'm just thinking of maybe hopping in on Sunday, are there recordings that I can click into, or is it all just live?
Well, I do record them. And so just literally get in touch. I don't publish them out, but if people want the recordings, they can have the recordings. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And I think the reason I could put them online, but so much of it is about that interaction between the people who are actually there, present in the moment. So if it were more like talks and things like that, then I could just see that. But a lot of it is very relevant to the people who are actually there. But yeah, people do say I'm missing, or they can't stay all day. Can I have the recording? So I store it on the cloud, and which really sounds funny. Imagine 10 years ago saying I've stored it on a cloud. It's kind of I've stored it in the cloud. So yeah, Julia, you're welcome.
Great. Okay. So I'm just busting Elaine and Stan to ask this question, because you sound like the most marvelously eccentric pair. One of you does Victorian seaweed gathering, and then the other one, you've got a cat that likes to make an impression by landing on your keyboard.
Yep.
So, if you were in America, I'd probably be asking, did you guys go to Woodford? I mean, how did you start off on this journey?
Oh, well, us together or us individually?
Well, whatever. I mean, presumably you started out individually, and then, all right, where did the two of you meet? Let's start there.
That's the one. That's the one.
I was obviously from London, and I went up to work in Bristol for 5 months, renovating a Georgian house, and I didn't know anyone up there. So someone I sort of got acquainted with said, "Why don't you join this group, meditation group?" So I went there, and one of the blokes, quite wacko these people were actually, but I didn't know that at the time. And one of the blokes said, "Well, I've just been around to someone who was a poet and wants some music, background music for CDs he's doing." So I thought, well, obviously I was a musician, so I said, "Well, he gave me Elaine's number. I didn't phone her for 2 weeks. He come back and says, "Well, don't worry about it. She's not that good anyway." So that's true. It's what he said. Anyway, I phoned Elaine up, and I went there one Tuesday night, and I had my recording machine. I was living up in Bristol at the time. I had a portable recorder, so I got Elaine to recite some of her poems. And one poem, she sort of said, "I'm not talking about this one because it's too personal." But I actually insisted on her. And believe it or not, when she started, I was recording it. When she started saying it, the music was in my head anyway. I could hear it. And I just thought, this took me out in a different space. And I went back to where I was staying in Bedminster, and I had a guitar up there. I just put the chords down, what I heard. And eventually we did make a CD, which we still got. And basically that's how it happened. Some flukes happen, don't they?
The irony was, though, it's quite funny, because when he insisted I do this piece, and I said no, I thought, he's so rude. So I should do that. And I'm like, go away.
But she just sat in the corner hiding behind the paper. I was like, what am I going to do?
But he came back a long time after that. And the piece that I'd written was really important, because I'd spent special time on the Isle of Iona on the Western Isles.
Oh, I've been to Iona, yeah. It's beautiful.
And I had some really profound experiences there, which shaped the work that I was to do in the world. And from that point anyway. And so I was organising to go back. And his lordship here, when he knew I was going, said, "Oh, can I come?" Well, the rest is kind of history, really. That's kind of how we were there, because he came to Iona for the second time.
Oh, amazing place.
And
Oh,
And
we
there
might have
is a
stayed in the same Airbnb. There's not actually many places to stay in Iona. So.
No,
there's not at all.
It was a hotel, wasn't it?
Well, I've stayed at several things. One was linked to Findhorn, there across there, and the other in the hotel the second time round. But I think humor has to have a place, and so we were kind of new at our relationship when we went there together. But I noticed he ate a lot of cake. He loved cake, and to the point I thought, this is like way too much cake. And I said to him, do you really think you should be having that extra cake? We went outside, and Iona, truly, if you've been there, you know, gives you kind of very fascinating experiences. It really does give you it gives you quite a lot of truth. The wind was howling and the rain was coming horizontally, and we were walking up the path, and in the distance we could see a group of young people with balloons in the rain, and it's like carrying something. As they got nearer to us, they were so happy and jolly and dancing in the rain. They had a cake. It was a birthday cake. And they said to Stan, would you like some birthday cake?
Yep.
And I thought, I give up. C'est la vie, Elaine, stop trying to be bossy.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, seriously, from there on in, Jeff is quite right. We have different roles in different places, but without Stan, I couldn't and wouldn't have maybe achieved all of the things with people over these years. He is, in his own right, the most amazing healer, and dearly loved, you know, by everybody for that rascally humor and cheekiness. But yeah, I mean, clearly without with the physical events going on, the Healing Weekend in particular, everything now sits there to be transported to next July for the event. So lock, stock and barrel, and we pray that will happen. But in the meantime, I can't sit back on my laurels and do nothing like you guys. You know, you're out there, you know, connecting people and bringing them together through your shows and the work and the lovely people that you have on. So that's kind of it, really. That's, you know, where we are with it. And I'm going to miss it for the while, not bringing people down here and taking them on, you know, magical journeys. But yeah, I think in that sense, you lose something, but I think we're going to gain an awful lot. We're going to gain an awful lot of kind of that back to basics kind of thing. Maybe we're going to learn, and we're going to grow, and we're going to go forward really strongly. And I just know that to be true.
So how's it going over there for you guys?
What's the problem? We've got no problem here.
No,
Life is normal.
they're joking. Yeah, they got it nailed.
God. You definitely haven't got it nailed here, that's for sure.
Yeah, go for the surf.
Yeah.
Don't you see my Facebook site? I doing my tiki tours. I chasing waterfalls there last weekend, and we had some rain for the first time. You know what? You obviously know what rain is, but we don't get. We don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
I just wind you up. Hey, but yeah, we can get out and about.
Cheeky. Yeah. I missed that bit. What did you say, Jeff?
We are getting out and about. There's no question about that. Yeah.
Very, very important.
There's no limits here. I mean, you can go from Queensland into parts of New South Wales. You can go to Northern Territory. You can go to New Zealand, but New Zealand's really taking people who have got New Zealand passports, but you have to do your 14-day quarantine. Costs $3,000. But if you, as a tourist, and you've got a 3-month visa, you can go to New Zealand, and New Zealand government will pay for your 14-day quarantine, provided you're booked and you're there for 3 months. So yeah, they're trying to entice visitors. I mean, there's tremendous. You see in the background there, the sunsets. I mean, I have to say, one thing I've been listening to is about getting back and building community, but it's amazing sunsets here in Queensland because we don't have the planes flying who are using their kerosene, flumes, or the chemtrails, if you want to call it as such. I mean, the sunsets have been awesome, from that blue as it starts to move into the those violets and magentas, and then you get into these oranges and reds. Oh, it's just bloody phenomenal. Yeah. And if you just get out of town just a short distance, you can see the night sky. It's just amazing. It's fantastic.
It's quite mesmerising, actually, that background. Quite mesmerising.
Is that real, Jeff?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was just some photo in the background.
You know me, I love, my passion is photography, so it's a photo that I've taken. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Do you? I'm now hooked on using the phones for taking photos. And I was looking the other day. My daughter's got she's got a super duper iPhone, and it's got like 3 bits of the camera you can zoom in. And I'm thinking, should I have one of those? I think when you actually, I think photography is a great healer in itself as well, because you are honing in to great detail. You know, that relationship you have with what's in front of you really deepens. Because I think I was with my grandchildren the other day through a lovely garden down here, and one of the girls, who was 12, she seems to have got that passion herself for photography, and she's got a little phone, and she's going very close up to the plants, and she's looking in great detail, and she's taking it all in and placing it and having that relationship, and then coming back and I again, yeah, I think photography for people who are also stuck is a great thing. You just literally, you can hear the seagulls.
They're big and scary in Cornwall.
Oh my gosh, Julia, they're really, really, really scary. They have developed a whole new breed down here of seagulls who
we was on a beach in St Ives once, and I went to get some baguettes, couple of baguettes from me and Elaine, and I just turned round from bought them, I had them in my hands. All of a sudden a seagull jumped down and took them both. It was fresh, gone. Immediately.
I know, they're the size of little dogs over there. I don't know what you know, it must be all the fish and chips and the baguettes or something that you explained.
Big. Yeah, no, they're not.
Enormous.
I mean, I don't.
They're very vicious in St Ives. They're vicious.
I was with Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson, that Brighton pier, and got in there, and we bought 3 ice creams. Didn't even get a taste. It's gone.
I mean, what I got. Yeah, they were big. I mean, I got a cut on my face while one, dive bombed and took my food. So I guess really they've just learned how to be where people are and get food the way that they need. So I can't blame the poor seagulls, but they are big. They are very big, and they are quite.
The worst place, isn't it?
Yeah, they quite. Yeah, huge. But I can't blame the little seagulls. They live for a long time as well, and they come back every year.
On our roof.
On our roof.
Okay, so it goes without saying that here you are in a place called Penzance. Obviously, Gilbert and O'Sullivan put a show on.
Pirates.
That's the one. So, is that part of the repertoire of Montauk Theatre? Are they going?
Yeah, they it has been. Pirates Penzance has been on at the Minack. The Minack is a beautiful place, guys. Created by a lady called Rowena Cade, incredibly inspirational lady who she loved the theatre. She loved, I mean, in the era of prior to about the 30s. Okay, she was a young woman in the 30s or so. Anyway, long story short, they came down. I think they lived in Cheltenham, which is a city, around Gloucestershire here. She came with parents and moved into a house that was by the Minack. So on top of this a lovely cliff there. And she decided, along with, well, she started to create plays as a girl in her garden. And as she grew older, this passion didn't go. And she decided to create an outdoor theatre. There you go. Jeff's put a picture of it, the Minack. Stone by stone, that woman and another guy, a builder's mate, stone by stone, she walked to the beach below. And those seats that you see there, but you can't see because it's like you can just see the grass, but they're stone backs to the originals, and they're carved with names of Shakespeare's plays. And there you go, Julius Caesar, but literally to think that one woman and one man, and there's a lovely picture of Rowena Cade as she's old, seeing really, I mean, she's probably 70s or something like that, still doing the work. So now that legacy is really, really strong. So you could imagine sitting there on a summer's night with your glass of wine and your, cheese and biscuits or whatever you have. Beautiful sound and a lovely environment, a great place to look at the wildlife as well, out to sea. You often, the colour of the water is so beautifully clear. So yeah, there's a theatre box there in that one, so people can. So they build sets there and have shows all the time.
Well, not this year.
But they have had some, but yeah, they're going through some transformations. We were up there the other day, actually. So they're extending there. They've got a lovely cafe. You can see to the left there's a building. You can just see the windows there. They're extending that to make that a bit bigger, which will be lovely for people when the weather gets rough in the winter, to be able to go and sit there and just have a coffee and gaze out. And but yes, some lovely things. Yeah. Pardon?
It's over there's the French coast.
Yeah. Yeah. And the land of Lyonesse and all of that, big adventures. But yeah, a really inspiring story of dedication and passion, and a beautiful place to be. And you can see the dates on there, as Jeff says, 1939.
Well, it feels like the two of you are building something similar in terms of, the annual healing weekend and now the Oasis retreat. Yeah. So good on you. You mentioned just my last question to you, Elaine, before we go is you mentioned that when you were in Iona that you had these revelations about, pretty much what you were here to do. So what was that discovery? What was that realization?
So I was part of a group of 12, and we met in the Michael's Chapel at midnight. And to this day, I don't actually know how I got there. I do know how I got there, but how I was invited. And there were 12 of us. And Bridget's Flame was there from Ireland, so the Peace Flame. And there were some women who were monks there. There were women from Northern Ireland who were
not monks.
They were
monks.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And there were some women from Northern Ireland who, at the time, the island was in its troubles, and they were there dedicated to peace and bringing peace. So I was part of a ceremony to give us, what do you call the word, ordain us to go out into the world.
There it is.
And that's and be peacemakers and bring peace in our lives and in our communities, and to actually be out there working with people that way. It was an incredible time for me, because 2 of the days that were in complete silence. And leading up to going, I had been drawing this motif. I don't know what it was. I was just doodling it with a bit like the UN laurel, the dove, and a bit like that. So I walked past a room of somebody else who was on this silent retreat. This woman from Seattle, and on the floor was exactly the same symbol, many of them. Wow. And she'd been drawing them. And I just looked at it and I couldn't speak. I just showed her mine. And then following morning, I wanted to go and find the Columbus Rock. And Columbus Rock was where he had a vision when an angel came to him and gave him this. So I wanted to know where this was, and I couldn't speak to anyone. So mentally, when I recount this tale, I mean, any your guys and your listeners will actually kind of get this, but seriously, if you talk to normal people, they wouldn't. So what happened next was I saw a little wagtail bird, and I said, "Do you know where Columbus Rock is?" And I followed the little bird and sat on this rock, and it was the rock. So the little bird had, told me right. And then I wrote quite a lot. I went back in the evening, and the lady who also drew the motive that I had saw over my shoulder my writing, and she put her hand on my shoulder, and she grabbed from the shelf a book, and the book was written in 1895, and I had written a prophecy, and it was the same one. And it had been written before, and it was just tremendous. So of course then that followed. When we could speak, we were like what is this, but the long and the short of it was that was the start of the if you like, that dedicating the life to bringing this new energy in. That was and very soft as well. It's really incredibly soft, beautiful energy in, and there's like, it's a whole other story, but that's where it started from, and has been with me ever since. Yeah,
that's so profound. Thank you for sharing that, Elaine. And what year was that?
So that's
late
90s. Yeah,
late 90s. Wow.
I see that. You see that, Jeff? If you scroll down to the courtyard where there is a back there, this one.
Oh yeah.
That then became quite a symbol for me in the years to come. So you can see that kind of Holy Spirit coming down, everything very feminine, wrapped up, and it's like coming down from as above, so below, really, and it just encapsulated everything of that time. But yeah, really great profound experience that was to last forever for me.
Yeah, powerful place.
Yeah.
So you obviously went into the McDonald Chapel. It was just
Yes, I did all of that, and that I remember that view you have there. I remember when Stan came with me down that aisle, and there was nobody else in there. I remember him sitting there, and I could sense the energy of Michael's energy, very powerfully. Yes, yeah. Laying a sword at Stan's feet, and I was thinking, "Whoa, this is just so amazing." Yeah.
Hey, isn't there, when you come in, just a room up to one side is St. Columban's?
The Orange Chapel, yeah, where he buried a naughty man who was getting in the way. Lovely acoustics in that.
Yeah, place. Yeah, done some toning in there. Wasn't this the burial place for a lot of Viking and Scottish kings as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It still is. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it is, Iona, the formation of rock there predates any that we know. It is called the Old Lady, as well as the Isle of Dreams. Oh, that's lovely, Sandy. Well, I hope you actually get to go there one day, because it truly is profound. It strips away every illusion that you have about yourself. And there you go. That's the Orange Chapel.
Mm.
And that they are. It is beautiful, Alexander. It is just the most moving. You have to be aware of your dreams when you go there as well. I went first time around. I had a lovely friend who went with me, and she ended up sort of having a really challenging night's sleep, where almost she was taken back to look at, what was going on inside her. I remember that profoundly. I just had amazingly beautiful things happen.
Mm.
Yeah, and what I love about it. What I love about the Celtic tradition. So this is still used. They really welcome the young people as well. It's wonderful in the Abbey to see young people giving talks in their Wellington boots and it's really grounded. Yeah, a very active ministry there, really active out in the world, and some of the beautiful crosses.
I remember going across on that little ferry thing. It was a ferry port, and there was a guy wearing a Manchester United jumper, old fellow, and started talking, and I said, "Oh, what have you come here for?" He said, "Oh, we come to see this bird, concrete or something." And so all bird watchers was from this ornithologist mob, And so he said, "They only find them on this island." Is that right? He said, "Oh, mate, they're so rare, it's unbelievable." So you come off the ferry and turn to the right and go along the foreshore. Well, bloody lo and behold, there's bloody concrete, Can't believe it. So they're all back up there on the ramp there, looking for a cup of tea, like an English woman would do. And I thought, geez, we just only walked off the bloody ferry here, and 3 minutes later we're seeing them. But
awesome. I love it. Yeah, they're really precious. And I think it was the first place Stan got mesmerised by the double rainbow.
Yeah, I saw loads of them.
So, did you? I don't know if you climbed up. There's a lovely hill there called Dunny, and in my poem it's called Hill of Legend. And there's at the top there's a well of eternal youth. So that's your heart just melts with the stories and the treasures of ancient times. But yeah, Stan saw his first double rainbow sat on top of Dunny, didn't you?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Good photos.
Yeah, they really are. And I don't even know how and I don't even know how many years ago now, a tragedy struck Iona that believe it or not, and I understand this because in some sense, because my own mother was brought up on an island in Wales, and my grandfather was a lifeboat man, but my mother never swam, and she said she had a healthy respect for the sea, and I guess that's more to do with a granddad being a lifeboat man. But Iona, the guys there, the young men there, the fish who went out fishing, and none of them swam, and they went out, and all of them in this one terrible thing drowned, all of them. So Iona put a call out a number of years ago. So this would have been like in the 2000s for young men to go to the island because they'd lost all their young men, to come relocate and be there. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Hey, isn't there something to do with is it John Knox or something, the Wesleyan Church, Methodist Church or something? Isn't there? Didn't they escape persecution and they came to Iona?
Yeah, well, the story with Columba was that I was just talking to Gabriella, my daughter, that is, Julia, yesterday about we were talking about the early days and early missionaries and where they and post the disciples who went out across the world and things like that. And I was saying in the Celtic tradition, there's lots of stories about monks arriving on shores in coracle boats, like little round, little little bobbing up and down. And the story with him is that he arrived there with 6 others in this little boat. But John Wesley, the Methodist, ironically, our house, the guy that went to found Methodism in Southwest Australia, came from here, and he lived in this house. There's a plaque for him on the wall here. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kalinack, William Kalinack, his name was. So, yeah, another story. But
200 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but down here you'll see in the old fishing communities down here. I mean, it was a hard life for people down here in the old fishing days. There's fishing now, but in the old days, very, very hard life. And John Wesley, made it his mission to come to Cornwall to bring the light, to that. And when you travel around Western Cornwall, you will often see steps outside of churches. And you will know when you see these steps that John Wesley had ridden in on his horse, and he was so small that he had to have steps so that he could get up and talk to people. So I'm a mine of information about little things. Funny what you pick up when you live in a place for a long time. But yeah, so those steps are there. But yeah.
Well, and Stan, it's been lovely hearing about your story and, the steps that you've taken to share your creativity and your love and get adults to act like children. I think that's wonderful, and create the oasis. And it's just great to be hearing Jeff, Jeff and the you and seem to go a long way back. So well done, you.
We do. That's where we live. So to get a place to where we are, all the old fishing boats. Somebody has just actually bought up the fleet, and so we should see good things for it. It's very picturesque,
very colourful.
Very colourful. Has a lovely resident, enormous seal in the harbour, bigger than what you would normally. It's massive.
What is that?
And,
Eureka.
yeah.
It's called.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some of the shops in town.
That's Chapel Street.
Yeah.
Is that
and the gallery? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the town has been affected by these events, but nature does what it does best, and it holds its own amongst it all. So
hey, I'll get to that. I'll just go off here. St. Michael's Mount. I mean, people don't realise it's got a story, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does. St. Michael's Mount. Strategically, St. Michael's Mount is a pivotal point of crossover for Michael and Mary ley lines, place of pilgrimage, history, which goes back. Monks, first of all, there. But the interesting thing with St. Michael's Mount, I mean, clearly, so you've got layers of history, as you do with many of the sites down here, but this one, you can see there the pathway is the causeway and the walkway over, which was damaged severely in the storms a few years ago, but has now been repaired. So at low tide, you walk over to the island. At high tide, you can get the little ferry boat over. So, and when you're there, it's you can actually see from that picture that you're looking at a newer structure, and then you can see an older structure underneath it. And still part of it lived in by the family, the St. Levens. And the chapel is beautiful, and there's a wonderful small statue of Archangel Michael there on the right, which mesmerizes me when I go in there. But it's a beautiful place to go. A lovely. I took a group there, and we had a beautiful meditation there one time. But the stories around it, I will just share one that when I took, it was my first or second retreat down here, which is quite funny because, like, so it seems so long ago now. But we were staying in a lovely hotel, but I had decided that we would be going to St. Michael's the following morning to do this meditation. Well, from our lovely, warm and cozy hotel. So I hadn't factored in the fact that it would be chucking down with rain. And most of the people, and the wind, most of the people, yeah, there you go. Most of the people who were at the retreat had come from the city, and none of them were equipped with wet weather gear. So I had a choice. Do I carry on with this walk across the causeway and people get wet, or do I not? So I sent my prayers, do I carry on? And the voice was yes. So you had some grumpy looking people getting wet going across. And all of a sudden, on your way to the mount, there's a rock in front. And it's Lady Rock. And it was in the old days of pilgrimage. People used to stop there and put lights on this rock. You can walk on it. And it was in honor of the feminine. Okay, so that was that before they went across to man itself. So within this, I said to everybody, this storm raging, and there's wet, grumpy faces. I said, "What's the matter with you lot?" I said, "Have you forgotten what it's like? Look at the rock pools down there. Look at let's have some fun." And we climbed up on top of this rock. And I said something about, and when you look at it like that and look all around, I said about a stairway to heaven, the old song. And no kidding you, in the clouds, and I've still got the photo somewhere, there was a rainbow set of steps in the clouds. And I said, "Oh, look." And one of our old friends, Terry, Rob Burgess's friend, he took the photo, which I do have today, of the stairway to heaven. So then at that point, people really started to wind down and get the magic and the mystery and the wonder. And there were many tales to, that go along with that. There have been some miracles there as well. But yeah, intrinsically, ley lines go across the word. So Glastonbury is connected, Iona is connected, Lindisfarne is correct, and it goes out across the world. So the Michael Mary lines. And you can walk the pilgrimage route here. And around the coastline, ancient settlements, the place where we were, Jeff, so that had an old chapel at the top. There were lookout points as well, so they used to have their torches. They used to have beacon fires. So high on the land, and the Iron Age settlements. So they all kind of connected to one another and were able to keep each other relatively safe.
Do you know what, Jeff? You believe it? I know it's a fact, actually. If Hitler had gone over with Germany, he was going to use that as his base. So Michael's man. That's the truth. Yeah,
apparently, it would have been about 10 years ago. They released the papers, so they were no longer classified. But the plans show how they were coming over, and that was where they were going to be based.
God.
So they didn't, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's another one just directly across over in France, isn't it? Got the same name.
Yes, Mont Saint Michel.
Yeah.
Mont Saint Michel.
Mont Saint Michel. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very. Same. I mean, and the same. The same person built both.
That explains that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to take the opportunity. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to take the opportunity just to say a big shout out to our audience, Elizabeth and Helen and Sandy and Alexander, and of course all of you lovely ones that are not commenting. Thank you for joining Elaine and Stan Fenton and Jeff and myself this beautiful evening. And at this rate, Elaine and Stan, all of us are going to be booking tickets to join you in 2021, if possible.
You're welcome.
As soon as you can. It would be really lovely. I think it's a great joy for me to actually share this landscape as well. So as well as the events, this is a special place. Yeah. And we, you know, we're here. So at any time, you guys, at any time, you know, if you want an adventure, a Cornish West Cornwall adventure, then we pretty much know all the sacred sites there are to know around here, and lots of its history as well. So yeah, it's a blessing. Yeah.
So Julia's got a book that she's co-written, a chapter of women's stuff. Julia, you want to just make a note of that?
Oh yeah. Yep. I was just going to mention that just as Elaine and Stan are having their weekends online for people to connect in, we have the co-authors of the Awakening, Meet the Women Birthing the New Earth, who will be sharing and going online next week. So there'll be a summit. So if you're interested, just send me a message via Dreaming the Dream or the Facebook page that you're streaming on. And next week we will also have one of my Lithuanian friends who is based in Lithuania. She's an amazing healer therapist, and she specializes in something that Elaine's also doing, nature as medicine. And she's traveled around the world, and I met her in Vietnam where we were both working. She's worked in Mexico as well, and she's just about to go off to the Caribbean. So I've locked her in for next week to be talking to us about nature as medicine. So thank you very much, Elaine and Stan.
Your connection to Iona and Stan the man.
Yeah, great stuff.
Stan the man. That's kind of Stan the man. Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you for hosting us, and and lovely to see you, Smiley Fence, to meet you, Julia, and Jeff as well. Keep up all the good work, and I can really see your connection to Iona and why with that energy and that book. I can see what it is.
Great stuff.
I love it. Well done, guys.
Great.
Yeah, keep shining.
Well, there you go. It's just end the broadcast. Thank you.